In February of 2013, Jennifer Lawrence walked up the stairs of the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles to collect her Academy Award, caught her heel in her Dior gown, and fell. The room gasped. Then it rose to its feet. That fall became one of the most replayed Oscar moments in history, and it accomplished something no acceptance speech ever could. It made the most successful young actress in Hollywood feel like your best friend. She talked about pizza on red carpets. She photobombed celebrities at award shows. She said the things you were thinking but would never say into a microphone. For roughly 4 years, Jennifer Lawrence was the most universally loved woman in Western pop culture. And here's the question nobody asked at the time. Why did an industry built on glamour and distance suddenly crown the girl who tripped? Because that adoration was not an accident. It was a product. And once you see how the product was built, you will never look at the woman everybody loves the same way again. So, let us open the machine. Universal likability in women runs on 3 components, and you can watch every one of them working in the Jennifer Lawrence era. Component 1 is self-deprecation. She told interviewers she was awkward, starving, and a mess, which lowered her status just enough that admiring her felt completely safe. Component 2 is manufactured relatability. The pizza, the tripping, the oversharing on late-night couches, every single signal said the same thing. She is not above you. Component 3 is strategic smallness. Never claim the win, never show the ambition. Let the talent speak while the personality apologizes for it. Watch any interview from that era and count how many seconds pass before she makes herself the punchline. Years later, Lawrence told The New Yorker that the hyper-personality in those old interviews was genuine, but it was also a defense mechanism. Watch that wording carefully, because a defense mechanism implies a threat. The threat was a public that punishes women for taking themselves seriously. Nobody handed her a blueprint for the cool girl. She read the room, the way smart women have always read the room. And the room rewarded every ounce of shrinking. Every experiment needs a control group. And pop culture ran one for us in the exact same awards season. Her name was Anne Hathaway. Same year, same stage at the Dolby Theater. Same golden statue, this time for Les Miserables. She stepped up to the microphone and said it came true. 3 words of sincere joy. The internet tore her apart for them. The backlash grew so large it earned its own name, Hathaway. Think pieces dissected her rehearsed speeches, her earnestness, her theater kid energy, as if enthusiasm were a crime. Grown adults wrote thousands of words explaining why one woman's visible happiness annoyed them. One critic even wrote that being yourself is one thing, but getting caught trying to be likable and failing is another. Read that sentence again slowly, because it is the entire rule book compressed into a single line. You must be liked, and you must never be seen trying. Lawrence was adored for falling up the stairs. Hathaway was destroyed for practicing her gratitude. Talent did not separate these 2 women, and neither did kindness. Visible effort did. The machine only rewards likability that looks accidental, which means the woman everybody loves is performing effortlessness. And performing effortlessness is the most exhausting job in any room. Now, let us talk about what it costs to run this machine from the inside, because one woman filmed her own receipts. In her 2020 documentary, Miss Americana, Taylor Swift sat surrounded by her childhood journals and admitted that her entire moral code was a need to be thought of as good. She described building her whole belief system on getting crowds to clap for her. Sit with the size of that admission. The biggest pop star of her generation described approval the way other people describe oxygen. She traced her disordered eating back to that need. She traced years of silence on issues she cared about back to that need. She admitted she had become whoever everyone wanted her to be. And this is where the story stops being about celebrities. That same sentence has been spoken in quieter rooms by the office favorite, the agreeable friend, and the daughter who never causes problems. It sits underneath every promotion that went to someone louder, and every opinion swallowed to keep a room comfortable. When your worth gets wired to applause, you no longer own your happiness. The audience owns it. And audiences are the most fickle landlords on earth. Here is how the Jennifer Lawrence story actually unfolded from there. The crowd turned. By 2014, the same quirks that made her America's sweetheart were being called an act. Ariana Grande parodied her on Saturday Night Live. The word overexposed followed her through every headline. Lawrence later reflected that the public had rejected her for her personality itself, rather than for her movies or her politics. The crowd was returning the exact product it had demanded. The backlash felt so intense that she stepped away from public life for years. So track the full arc with me. She built what the crowd rewarded, the crowd consumed it, and then the crowd billed her for it. That is the fine print on universal adoration. It is a loan rather than a purchase, and the interest rate is your identity. If this breakdown is landing for you, hit subscribe. This channel unpacks the psychology behind women who win on their own terms every single week. Now let us look at the experiment proving this game was rigged before any of these women ever sat down at the table. In 2003, business school professor Frank Flynn handed his students a real case study about a Silicon Valley venture capitalist named Heidi Roizen. Half the class read her actual story. The other half read the identical story with a single change. Heidi became Howard. Same career, same wins, same network, same track record. The students rated Heidi and Howard as equally competent. Then likability entered the room. Howard came across as the leader you would want to work for, maybe even go fishing with. Heidi, with the exact same achievements, came across as selfish, aggressive, and unpleasant to hire. One name. That was the entire variable. Decades of research since have confirmed the pattern. For men, success and likability rise together. For women, they pull against each other. A woman who negotiates hard gets called difficult, while a man who negotiates the same deal gets called a leader. Same behavior, different invoice. So when you feel that pressure to shrink your wins, soften your emails, and laugh off your own competence, understand something. That instinct was handed to you by a rigged scoreboard, long before you ever noticed it. The women everybody loves simply figured out how to score points on it. The real question is whether those are points you even want. Because there is another door, and every woman in this video eventually found it. Anne Hathaway revealed in 2024 that directors refused to cast her at the height of the hate, worried her identity had become too toxic online. Then Christopher Nolan cast her in Interstellar anyway, purely on respect for her craft. Her career outlived every single person who piled on. That is what respect does. It holds when the noise gets loud. Taylor Swift described falling in love away from the cameras and discovering happiness without anyone else's input. She called it a different kind of happiness than the one she had been trained to feel. Jennifer Lawrence returned on her own schedule, producing her own films through her own company, deciding exactly how much of herself the public gets. All three women stopped renting approval and started building respect. Respect compounds. It survives a bad speech, a rough news cycle, and an unflattering meme. Adoration expires the very moment you stop performing it. That is the difference between owning an asset and running a performance you can never leave. So here is the question to carry out of this video. Look at whatever room you are trying to win right now. At work, in your friendships, online. Are you building something that survives you being fully yourself? Or are you the product? Would you rather be adored, or would you rather be respected? Choose carefully, because your identity is the price of the wrong answer. Stay hot.